So in today's video, we are finally moving over to the BitAxe Max that we have here. So we've upgraded this one, we've pushed it to 1 terahash. This is the Supra, and we upgraded the Gamma and pushed it to around 1.6 terahash. That was steady. We benchmarked them both, so we can get around 1 terahash from this steady and around 1.6 to 1.7 steady. And now we just need to push the max. Currently we're sitting around 550 on average. So we want to try push this at least up to 700 and keep it stable there. We're going to be doing the same thing that we did with the Supra a couple days ago. Add in some copper, add in the new power bank, and trying to get this up, benchmarking it all in. So same steps that we did in the last video. We've got to take this off the rig, add some copper to it, and then we got to get benchmarking it. So currently, as we stand here, the average hash rate at these overclocks is 543 and temperature is 43 degrees. I know we can run it way higher than that. Best share is 48 million currently. So let's go take this off the rig and let's get some copper added to it, and then we can go in and benchmark, see if we can try hit 700 to 800 gigahash on one of these. So this is the first version of the BitAxe ever. I mean, it's 204, but 200 is the first version. And the main reason is we're trying to push the hash rate across all three of them so we can get more of a chance of hitting a block. So let's get this off the rig now. So right here, as you can see, we've taken it off the rig. And one thing that we haven't changed for quite a while is these Nocta fans, because this one actually only has 3 pins and it was the old one. So we do have a new one here with PMW, so the fan control should be on there, and that should help it as well, find the optimal temperature. We have these 2 heat sinks, so we're going to do the same thing that we did on the Gamma, kind of around these areas, I guess. And the same with the Supra that we have. And we're going to take the LCD off like we always do because I think it looks better. So first thing we need to do the fans and then put on the heat sinks, and then we'll get it hooked back up onto the rig. So we'll come back when we've fitted all of that in on here. So there we go, we got the same thing done there. We have the copper heatsink on the front, in front of the voltage regulator again, and then one big one on the back. We basically used all the heat sinks that we could and that we had left over. And now all we have to do is hook up onto the rig and get it hashing. So we're looking for 800 gigahash overall. So let's get this put back on there, benchmark it out and see if we can hit that 800 gigahash, because I know it's possible, but we might still need those new cooling solutions like fans on the back, which will be coming in later videos. So let's get it hooked up and benchmarked. So after benchmarking for a little bit, and we're still kind of going, we had to reset it, but after benchmarking, the hash rate is around 700, but we can't push it any further than that, it seems. We did get an average benchmark. If you look up here, our top result was rank 1. Let's bring it down here, and somebody told me how to zoom in the other day on this. So core voltage 1300, frequency 825, and average gigahash was 759, and average temperature was 57 degrees. Efficiency is obviously out of the window, but nobody cares about that. You can see the hash rate is kind of popping up to 800, so we had kind of this range here, 800 gigahash, where it did hit up into it, but it didn't stay stable there, and I just think that it can't really handle too much more than this 800 range. As you can see, even when you start up in the frequency a little bit more than 825 up to 850, it kind of gets very unstable. Plus the temperatures are going way up there, so you have 59 degrees, but when we scroll up, it was about 58, 57, which is still okay. It's just it doesn't feel like it can be pushed too much further without, I mean, there's 2 options that we can go with, either back fans, which I don't think is going to make too much of a difference. And obviously the copper heat sinks help, and we hadn't really pushed the BitAxe Max too far, just because it was rated up to 20 watts power supply. And we are looking into getting a new power supply for all of them to be running at the same time. But currently it's pretty silent actually with the Nocta fans, so that's always good. It doesn't cut into the videos. You can see there even the hash rate is moving, so you have 879. I still think it's possible to get 1 terahash out of this. You just need a way better cooling system for it, and the power supply needs to be a lot better as well. Now we have basically two options, and that is the back fan and the immersion cooling. And I didn't want to have to do immersion cooling because I know a lot of people are asking for it because it's not really seen too much, even on YouTube videos necessarily, but even across the whole BitAxe community it's not seen too much. And there is a massive reason for that, is that once you put a board into this immersion cooling, you basically can't take it out and add accessories back on or use it in open air anymore. Because of the liquid cooling that actually goes onto the BitAxe, it gets stuck into basically everything that it touches. So unless you want to have to fully clean one, then it's not really an option if you want to keep making videos. But we could have one just stuck in a fish tank, and I have seen this. So this is one from, I believe that this is the Supra, but we're going to try it with the Max because that's the worst one that we have, and I don't mind ruining it. Overclocking the BitAxe to 900 gigahash increases the hash rate of the tank by 13,000 times. So you can see here, it's just, I believe that this is dielectric fluid, correct me if I'm wrong, or there might be a certain type of dielectric fluid that you need for the BitAxe. But this is pretty standard in a fishbowl, which is actually kind of genius when I'm thinking about it, because it's a lot of volume, and I believe that the temperatures would rise very, very slowly. He obviously has the fan running as well, which might actually work with heat dissipation to move the liquid around a little bit. So there's an option for that, or the more popular option that all of you guys have kind of seen. If we just scroll down here actually first, you can see on the Supra 900 gigahash, we've already kind of hit that without the immersion cooling, so I'm perfectly fine on the Supra. But on the Max, I want to kind of push it up to 1 terahash if that is possible to do. As we said, kind of looking at it, it is possible. We hit 887 gigahash there. I think it can definitely be pushed further than that. But there is an option for that, and you would have to get a fishbowl because you'd have to move around the liquid quite a lot. As it says there, still running the fan at 380 RPM, so that's very low, but it's still creating turbulence to move the liquid around. So it's a very interesting concept right there. And then the one that most people have seen, which is the Immersion axe. And this is kind of like an enclosed case that you see here with liquid cooling running down into a radiator and flowing back through the bottom. You can actually buy these, but I believe that they're out of stock on Solo Satoshi. They do have an open GitHub that you guys can go and download the files. You can see it here. So Immersion axe is what it's called, and it's by Crypto Ice MLH. So it kind of looks like this when it's moving. You can see all the flow of the liquid. So it comes from bottom and then flows up to the top. As the heat rises through the liquid, it gets taken out there through the radiator, so on and so forth. So when we're looking at this, it is kind of a massive setup to do. Because it is open source, you can print off all the 3D printing, but I don't have access to any of that, which makes me believe that this one would just be way easier to do. And it could kind of allow us to do it with other BitAxe products, but I also don't know kind of what liquid is specified for this, because on the GitHub, I can't actually find what the liquid is. But on this one with the fishbowl, it does say here, if we scroll down, it's a BitCool by SLIC Expert, which is kind of like an engineering fluids company. And if we click into here, you can see on their website, they have a certain product which is actually aimed at Bitcoin mining cooling. So there's BitCool here, which is ASIC based miners, but there's also electric cool, which is dielectric coolants. I personally don't have a clue what the difference is between them, but it does say here on the BitCool, if you're using a GPU or FPGA for mining, you'll need to use electrocool. I don't get why you would need to use that for GPUs and FPGAs, but not for the ASICs. Maybe it's to do with the chip, it doesn't interact nicely with the just standard dielectric fluid. But it looked like for the one with the fishbowl that it was definitely using this BitCool. Maybe it is kind of the same thing and they're just trying to sell it for a little bit more. I don't actually know, but let me know what you think about that. And then if you scroll down here, you can kind of get an idea of what we're seeing here with the Immersion axe. So coming through here, it gets pumped from here back up into it. There's a little bit of adjustments that you need to make, you can see there. But one thing that we don't really want is that we can't use this again in open air, basically. So let's just scroll down. You can kind of see it has this like film of fluid around it, which is not great because it's very, very hard to clean that off. Especially you'd have to take the heatsink off and you'd have to really clean around the chip. Because if you try this in open air, I believe the heat dissipation is not going to be great because you have to heat dissipate through the liquid first and then through the air. So it's kind of hard to justify putting a Supra or a Gamma in there. I'm fine with the Max because it's a little less expensive. But you can just see that there. It just has this like film of oil across the top of it. Imagine if it was sunflower oil, for example. That's what it would feel like across the whole board, which is very hard to clean off. But there is some adjustments here. As you can see, I don't actually know what this is for necessarily. It might be a custom power supply. It looks like it's a custom power supply. And another thing that I have to mention as well is the Wi-Fi. I don't know how it's going to act with the Wi-Fi because it has to obviously push through the liquid first and then onto the air. I know it doesn't really make too much of a difference, but it would make a difference depending on where you put the BitAxe or where you immerse it or where it's situated. It would have to be closer to the Wi-Fi adapter, I believe. So as I said, this has kind of been running. There has been a new update actually for AxeOS, and it tells you expected, and then it also tells you the average right there. We have 888, but you can see 983. This is just doing its current overclocks because it's still benchmarking in the background. So you can see we have hit like nearly 1 terahash on it, but that's nowhere near steady at all. The RPM is pretty good, but ASIC temperatures are kind of getting up there at this point. I think it'll run until about 875, and then the ASIC temperature is going to get too hot, and I'm probably going to take it off at that point. But I'd say with just kind of an Octa fan, some adjusted heat sinks in copper, and the black heatsink is kind of taking us up to around, I'd say, 750, which is good overall. But I know that this can be pushed up to 1 terahash at some point. You just need a better cooling solution. So we're going to be looking into that. Let me know your thoughts on if you want to see this, because we can get it custom ordered and made, or if you want to just see one like the fishbowl, which would be kind of crazy, but let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe for more content like this.